All right, we're live here. Episode 3, Born to be Great. What's up, Mr. Ralston? How you doing?
Good, man. We got a special guest today, all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina, a good buddy of mine, um, Cody French, one of my best friends, foxhole guy, now doing NASCAR after playing football in college. So, Cody, we're excited to have you on and talk shop and learn more about you, your journey, NASCAR, teamwork, leadership, business, all that. So, um, how about you kick off with the background on yourself, how we met and kind of your journey this far. We can just kind of take it by ear.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. I've never been on a podcast, so it's typically say this is my first one. But no, thanks, Justin, for having me. Excited to get this thing rolling. But so yeah, me and Nick met in Arizona State. Well, before that, I'll go back. I'm from New Mexico, Roswell, New Mexico, born and raised. Went and played 1 year of baseball. Said screw that. Went to Arizona State. Played football there. Played with. That's how I know Nick. He was on the offense. I was on the defense. And then, yeah, we just became really close then. Great dude, family man, business savvy. And I gra-
Lived with each other
yeah,
for
we
a
actually
while.
lived with each other for probably, I don't know, 6, 7 months. No, maybe not that long, but no,
Yeah, it's during
yeah.
COVID.
Oh, man, that's a whole other thing. But he's a good dude.
Yeah,
I gravitated towards him. He's smart, super smart guy. And so we became really close friends. Obviously, our friendship's still strong. But graduated Arizona State with my engineering degree, and then was going to pursue like Honeywell or something over there. I was talking to Honeywell for a little bit, but and then NASCAR came about and moved out to the East Coast. Never been east of really Texas in my life, and now been here for the last 5 years. Married, got 2 kids, and can't complain, man. Life's good.
yeah, and Justin, like a lot of people don't realize, but they recruit a lot of college football and NFL guys, you know, at NASCAR, and I think Cody should dig into that story of they. I'm pretty sure you like tore your hamstring or something, right? You did the combine, or you're training for the pro day. They gave you a job. And then they took it back. Just get into that story because that's pretty
Yeah, so
crazy.
I pro day of 2019. Yeah, tore my hamstring in my 40.
2020, right?
Yeah,
This
it was
is
20,
like
it was
no, it's
2019, and then
2019.
I tore my hamstring in 2019 for the pro day. Didn't even get to finish my pro day. It sucked. Stayed around for a year to finish my engineering degree. Was blessed enough to do a second pro day in 2020, and I think Nick, if you correct me, if it was like 2 days before our pro day. Like you were doing like the pre-pro day, you know, little skit, and then boom, COVID hits, shuts everything down. Don't even get to do a pro day. So then I'm like, screw this. I'm gonna get my degree. And then the year before, it was that I think March. NASCAR came to Phoenix, and our strength coach introduced me to a recruit in NASCAR. Got a hold of him. I didn't really want to go work a 40-hour job, 50-hour job, whatever that entails. And so I was like, I'm gonna give NASCAR a shot. So I reach out to this guy. He gets me in touch with Penske Racing and Hendrick. And Hendrick was more head over toes for Tommy Hudson, who we need to get on this podcast. You need to get him on the podcast next.
Yeah,
And
dude, Tommy won't hop on a call with Justin and I. He's hard to
dude,
pin
I'll
down
text him and he'll
sometimes.
leave me on red for like 2 weeks and then get back to me. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
but yeah. So I was talking to Penske for a little bit, and then granted, this is when COVID was like just hit, everything shut down. Like we didn't know what was going on, right? And so Penske wasn't bringing me on because of that. So Hendrick reached out to me. Um, I want to say like probably November of 2020, December-ish, yeah, November-ish. And so they're kind enough to bring me in. They're like, hey, we're going to hire you. Well, first of all, they fly me out here. I do like a 3-day workout with them. I fly back. I get offered the job before I even get on the plane to go back, which is pretty cool. So I accept the job. They're like, well, how fast?
And what was that around
Dude, I
August?
want to say it was closer to like no, it was definitely cool. It was pretty cool out here. So I want to say it was like September, October, um, leaning towards the
Yeah.
ends of their season. I do remember that, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I don't even know what I'm gonna like the East Coast or whatever, you know. So, anyways, like, how fast can you be out here? I told him I could be out there in 2 weeks. So at this time, Nick's already out of the house. It's just me and my wife, my now wife, and so we pack up the house. We get a big 40 or what, however long U-Haul, the biggest one you can get. We pack it up, right? I kid you not, we're about to pull out of the driveway, and actually was in the U-Haul when I got my phone call, and they said, "Hey, man, we can't bring you on." And I was like, "What?" Like, I literally just told them, I was like, "I just packed my house, like terminated my lease, everything." So we unpacked the U-Haul. Everything stays in the garage. I live in the house for another month and a half, probably about till January, mid-January, and then I get a phone call again in
And during this time period, Cody was going ham on
TaskRabbit.
what
Yeah,
was that
yeah.
Task
I was
Rabbit,
like,
man?
I don't
Like
want to
he would
commit to,
like I'm
Honeywell or something yet. If this is still on the table, because they said, like, we may bring you back sometime next year. And so I was doing like, dude, shit handyman job,
handyman,
dude. Like,
but like making, probably close to 100 grand, like hanging
yeah,
up
like
TVs and
big
like Cody, how
corporate
are you doing
companies in
this stuff,
Phoenix
man?
that had new office space that they just leased, and they need new TVs in every room or something like that. I was doing that kind of stuff, driving around an old beat up truck, and yeah, I was just kind of hustling.
Because Cody's a big car guy. He's rebuilt. We could go into that later in the podcast. I think you tried to rebuild the truck, or you
Yeah,
did,
I
and
was
then
for a
wrecked
while.
it. And
It was
then
like
I don't know where
it
that
was like
truck is
two.
now.
I was like 2.5, 3 weeks. I didn't have a vehicle. I was just walking around everywhere, like longboarding. Sucked. But anyways, that's a different story. And so I finally get the call in mid-January, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to bring you back on." I was like, "Perfect." I got my whole house is still boxed up. So it was like January 20th or 25th, of 2021, that we made the drive out here, and I've been here ever since. And my wife followed me out, and me and my wife have been dating since I was a junior in high school. So um, it's pretty impressive to get.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah,
She's a trooper,
she's
man.
my
But
best friend.
but she's such a good person. We've got our wives together over the years, and I still think they text every day or a couple of days. We've been on a couple of like family trips. Do we lose him?
We lost him. Oh my God. I don't
That's so
think this is
good.
gonna
He'll
work.
he'll he'll be on here in a second. Um,
Just keep talking.
but
I'll be right
yeah,
back.
man, Cody is he's a good dude, man. We've been in a lot of battles together on the football field, and he's taken that work ethic and that process and applied it to NASCAR, and been through several contracts now, going on year five. It's a tough life. He's always on the road, probably traveling, what, 40 weeks of the year, Cody? Are you on the road? 30?
It's like 30, 36 weeks, 37 weeks out of the year that you're just Friday through Saturday, Sunday, you're just like clockwork. So um,
Well,
just the down part of that job, but it's cool in the aspect that you take that what you were doing in college, that whole workout program, you're around other athletes, so it's the camaraderie and the that team bonding. It's still carried over to this sport, which is really cool. And that's probably the biggest blessing in this sport is that I'm not having to go and work, a 40, 50-hour job behind a desk, that I can stay in that competitive nature and
Hmm.
just do what athletes love doing, and that's competing on a daily basis. So that's the
Yeah, how
blessing.
much NASCAR as a sport has been growing so much. It's recently there's been a lot of an investment kind of going into the space. Have y'all looked at any NASCAR F1 type stuff? Is that new thing in Jacksonville? Where is Daytona Beach? Is that close to Jacksonville, or
it's
am I crazy?
south of us like an hour, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, south? Okay. Yeah. but yeah, the sport is blowing up. Definitely getting, they're commercializing it more. Cody, what's some of the favorite tracks or some of the favorite stories you've had over the last 5 years, and some of the wins you've had?
Man, there's stories I can't tell, but
I
the
know.
story is obviously winning those races this year. Getting my first win last year with Raja was pretty cool, and
Yeah.
there's a whole other aspect towards the NASCAR was this Le Mans thing that I did in 2023. There's only
So
a,
the France thing?
yeah,
Yeah.
there was a hand picked chosen few that were able to be a part of that, and I was one of them, and that was really cool. That was a mile marker in my career, and there's actually a documentary that just came out on Amazon that it's about an hour and a half. It's really good. You guys should look into it. Give it a watch. But yeah, it's NASCAR is growing in the ever since COVID. NASCAR kind of flipped the script with this whole next gen car, which I think brought a
Mm.
lot of attention to it. I think the older generation is kind of like, stick to the Xfinity type car, that Gen 6 car. But this first gen car, this next gen car is it's cool, man. It's really cool. I think it's doing good for the sport. They've even got like
Yeah, walk
EV.
us through the differences on. I mean, I know some of the older cars were more dangerous. They went a lot faster. What's the difference with this next gen
Yeah,
vehicle?
um, there's so many different things on it. NASCAR's put so many different regulations on this car. It's improving on a daily basis almost. Like there's new things that they add to this car all the time just for safety reasons. I will say that when that first car came out in 2021, there was really no um, testing as to what the impact felt like on these big crashes that they have. So they've done, I mean, and kudos to them, they've gone leaps and bounds to make this car super safe. I mean, you can look back and see some of these wrecks that I want to say like Ryan Preece had one in Charlotte either last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember, but the car flipped like 13 and a half times. I mean, it didn't even look like a car.
Whoa.
He was able to just like put his window net down and get out, and that definitely would not have been the case if it was in the previous gen car or um, even an Xfinity car for that matter, in my opinion. But um, so
Yeah,
but yeah,
and talk about some of the other races. I mean, because you're doing 3 races a week, all different types of
yeah,
cars,
yeah.
right?
You got the Truck Series, you got Xfinity Series, and then you got the Cup Series. So the Truck Series is obviously a truck, right? That's more of your beginner entry level drivers. You'll have the Arkham and Ard series and then that's not really part of NASCAR, but that's kind of like your JV style of trucks before you get to the varsity team. And then you have trucks, and you have Xfinity, which used to be the same cars with the Cup Series used to run, which is that Gen 6 car. And that's like your moderate to. It's kind of like I think of it more of like baseball, right? You got single A, double A, and triple A. So trucks your single A, Xfinity's your double A, and then Cups your triple A or your major league. And so yeah, and then the Cup Series is on Sunday, and you get those are the big dogs. So, but
That's what you're doing?
yeah, I actually pit for all three of them. I pit for Raja Caruth on the 71 truck on Fridays or Saturdays sometimes, and then I pit for Nick Sanchez for Xfinity, and then Carson Hocevar on Sunday. And
That's awesome.
yeah,
Can you
so
talk can you talk a little bit more about like your role and just like the teamwork it requires and the communication? Because that stuff like I've done an F1 simulation pit crew and that it's really hard and I respect the hell out of what y'all do after doing that.
yeah,
So I'd love just to learn more about what you do like on a day to day and how y'all are able to be so good at what you do. Like the practice that goes into it too.
yeah, yeah, that's huge. You can't do a pit stop efficiently if you don't have good teams, right? Like if you don't have good communication and you don't trust one another and you don't have good, I guess, if you don't gel well, I call it chemistry. If you don't have chemistry, it's
Hmm.
trash, really. But no, that's huge and everything. I mean, the preparation is. I mean, I can go into this forever, but yeah, team bonding, and you're working with five guys, right? So you have a front changer, you have a rear changer, you have a jackman, you have a fueler, and you have a carriers. So I'm a jackman. So my responsibility is to hang the right front, jack the car on the right side, hang the right front, go around, jack the left side, and hang the left rear. And in doing that, you got four other people that are evolving around you, right? And you're trying to change four tires, add fuel, have a car that's coming in 50 miles per hour, right? You got to jump out in front of it and complete an efficient pit stop in 8.8 to 9.4 seconds. That's about the average now, and that average is getting lower and lower every year. It's amazing how fast people are picking this up and how fast pit stops are evolving. Uh, but yeah, it's more so. I mean, I think yesterday we ran the fastest stop in practice. It was a 7:39, and
Wow.
that, yeah, I mean, so what you do at practice is obviously very hard to take to the track, right? Because there's just so many different things going on at the track that there's so much more risk at the track than there is at practice. There's no risk at practice, right? If you have a loose wheel, who cares? Jack the car back up, tighten it up. If you do that at the track and you're running top 10 and you have a loose wheel, either your car's going into the wall or you got to come back down on pit road and you just took your car out of the race. So, but yeah, the chemistry and team bonding, and I would say like just instincts, right? You can kind of get to the point where it's like something's wrong in the stop, and so your instinct tells you over like a ton of reps, like this is the issue without even having to put eyes on it. Like I already know the issue just based off the sound, or if I know like presence isn't in the spot that it needs to be, like someone's body language is bad, then I know something's wrong. So that's a red flag to me. Like, okay, now I need to check off. Right, you're supposed to check off all the time, but when you're pushing a 7-8 or an 8 flat second stop, like you almost don't check off. You're just going with instinct, right? And so you're trusting that the guy next to you did their job. And if they
Hmm.
didn't, well, that's on them. And that's also on me too, because I'm kind of like the quarterback of the stop, where if something's bad, I can't drop the car unless I see lug nuts are tight on each wheel, and then I can drop it and go to the other side. If I dropped it prematurely, then you just killed your stop. Yeah, I can jack the car back up, tighten the wheel, and go to the other side and finish the stop. But I just lost 6, 7, 8, 10 spots on pit road and took my car out of contention again. So um, you're flirting with like thousands of a second sometimes, and it's become an art, which is really cool. Um, if you were to see this happen in person, it's like it looks so chaotic, but it's so under control at the same time. Um,
Mm.
And the difference between like us and like Formula One is like Formula One, they've got I think like 12 guys on pit road. You got an indexer on each hub, on each corner. You got four people with guns. You got a pneumatic jack. Where we only got four guys, right? You got a fueler, but he can't do anything but fuel the car. So you got four guys that can change four tires in sub 8 seconds, which is um, really really impressive to watch. So.
That's so cool. Yeah, because you gotta be in shape to do what you're doing. Like you gotta be in really tip top shape. And because yeah, four guys doing that ain't easy.
No, and it's not. And that's what's the blessing about this sport is that, all of us, like Nick was saying, I would say 95% of us now are either, college football players or some sort of athletic background where um, you carry what you're doing in college from that training, getting up at 6, working out for 2 hours. You got meetings, you got film review, you got practice, you got more film review. So it's like it's tailored for football, or, yeah, more so football than anybody, because the schedule just goes straight from college, boom, straight to what your job is, and it's easy to relate, and you don't have to be smart. Yeah, common sense will get you some places, especially like, I mean, I always get on to people. It's like we hire these guys that are freaks, right? Which is great. But you tell them to go get a 10 millimeter wrench and they look at you like you're speaking crooked. So it's like there's a balance between like having like really good athletic people, but then also someone that's got common sense and world, daily, I guess, experience with a wrench, to where it's like, because a lot of times, like we don't build the cars right, but we need to know every aspect of the car, because if you get in a wreck and you got to come back down pit road and you got to do body work or body damage, and you don't know what you're looking at, you don't know the difference between a nut and a bolt, and you just think it's all one thing, or like fine thread or coarse thread, like there's a difference, right? If you're speaking
Hmm.
that kind of terminology and someone looks at you funny, like a deer in the headlights, you're like, okay, it's cool that you can pit a car really good, but can you fix it when it wrecks, right? Because the guys that build the car at the shop, they don't get to go over the other side of the wall. Now, a certain few do, but not all of them. So it helps whenever you have athleticism with brain power too, or just know your car a little bit is what I'm saying. So that's like a double edged sword.
No, I think it's awesome. I mean, when you talk, I didn't know that like a lot of football players come to do what y'all are doing. That's really, really cool. And I think that's awesome that you just said like obviously, having the athleticism is cool, but like if you're a quarterback and you're the best quarterback ever, but you don't know the plays and you can't communicate that to your team, like I could say the same thing in business. Like I could have all the knowledge and stuff too, but like if I can't communicate that with my team or I don't really know what I'm talking about, in a certain setting, like you're not going to go far. It's just not gonna you're not gonna gel. You're not gonna have that chemistry. So I can
Yeah.
see a lot of like different places where I can sort of apply what you're learning into life too, which I think that's a cool takeaway for people. It's just like, I think it would be cool to learn more too about like how often y'all are practicing and like the technicalities of it a little bit more. Like I'm not gonna probably understand most of that kind of stuff, but like there's a depth to like what y'all are doing. Like there's levels to this stuff. So I'd like to hear more about that too.
Yeah, so I can kind of walk you through like my weekly schedule. So Mondays like are our days off. We just get back from traveling. Tuesday, Wednesdays are our workhorse days. That's where we go in, we work out, we get a good workout. I get in there around 6:37. I work out. We have meetings at 9. We practice from 10:30 to 12:30, and then depending on what you're doing or what you need to work on, you can stay and get some other stuff done by yourself, like some extra work. But um, and then again, Thursdays sometimes like we fly out Friday, so we'll have a Thursday off, or if we fly out Saturday, then we'll have our Friday off. Um, those are essentially our weekend days. But um, the technicality of it, like you can bring in 5 guys and they can give you a 10-second pit stop, right? Pretty quick. Like it's not going to take them long to figure that out. But to run 8 5s or those 8-second stops, that's where like the little details come into play. Gun angle,
Hmm.
how you index it, how fast can you get it, like little nuances that you don't think about when you're running 10-second stops that you have to start putting into your memory bank to get those 8-second stops done, right? And so that takes thousands and thousands of reps, and just working with the same guys over and over again. I'm big on team, and it's like I see in this sport a lot of times where you have a good guy, but he's just with bad teammates, right? So it's like he can't really show his full potential on a car because he's going with people that are, I guess, kind of restraining him, right? I see it all over. And so a lot of teams will pick and choose and just, well, we're going to take him off this car and we're going to put him on this car because he's a better jackman and he's a better changer. Well, not necessarily. You can't do that because guess what? Those guys have never worked together before.
Hmm.
I mean, like I'm biased to that too because it's like even though I know someone else is a better front changer or has a better carrier, I don't really care to go with them because they haven't gone with me 5,000 times in the last 2 years, as my carrier has. So he can pick up on little things like that, or know the way I jack a car, my body position. If you stop short, all kinds of little nuances. But and that's where that team comes into play again, and just chemistry is huge, man. It's so huge, and I almost wish I could tell this to my higher ups if they're ever listening.
No, dude, that's 100%. You can have all the best guys in the world, but if they don't gel, it doesn't matter. And I really liked what you said about like the gun angle and like stuff like that, because to me, like the first thing that came into my head was like working out, right? Like if you don't have, you can work out and like go in the gym and like you can make some gains, right? But like if you have the tweak your little proper form and like it takes time and reps to like sink that into your brain and like actually do it right. But that makes a big difference over time, and you'll notice like, oh, I'm probably not lifting as much now, but then down the line you'll have better form, better performance. And like I was doing that with my trainer the other day. Like he was showing me how to shoulder press. Like we totally switched up my form, and it was totally different. Like I was nothing in my lower back, just like straight shoulders, and I was just like,
Mhm.
holy crap, this makes tons and tons of difference. But I'm gonna have to do a lot of reps. Like it's gonna take time, and then if you're ever to apply that to like back to business or whatever, it's those little things that make a big difference. And then yeah, the chemistry is huge. So um, super cool stuff there. I love that. Um, Nick, what else you got for Cody? I think that was like that's what I wanted to get out because I love that kind of stuff.
Um, Yeah, Cody. I mean, what have you seen from, the top performing teams that consistently win races day in and day out? Is there anything you've seen just, looking at them at the race or kind of their process?
Yeah,
Anything you're always putting in your tool belt, or is it just teamwork, trust, and reps?
yeah. I think it's more just on my side as the pit crew member. It's more so just chemistry, trust, and taking what you're doing at practice to the track because
Yeah.
there's a saying in NASCAR where and I don't like this saying because I don't think it's true, but you hear it a lot. Is pit crews don't win you races, but they can lose you races, right?
Yeah.
The car is going to win its race on the
Yeah.
track.
Number one thing, man, is don't beat yourself. I mean, it's the same
Yeah,
thing in football.
you know. But there's also
You
many
can't
cases
control
pit
the
crews do
drivers.
win you a race, right? Like Denny Hamlin's team, they're a really really good pit crew, right? And they win Hamlin some races. But also Denley takes care of his business on the track too, right? So there's a perfect mix of driver and crew. Now you do have your certain tracks like speedways or road course races where your pit crews are really kind of negligible. They're not really going to help you out in winning a race, just because of like speedways or drafting tracks where it's very easy to like change position. Road course is more so just how well is your driver braking, and accelerating. And but your mile and a half tracks are your bread and butter tracks for pit crews, and that really highlights, you know, that's really what separates pit crews, right? Our mile and a half tracks,
Hmm.
because a lot of times the way a car gains positions on pit road, that's where the 77 with our driver who's super talented gains a lot of spots, but he also gains a lot of spots on pit road. Um, and so to answer your question, there's nothing that I see a team come in and do that I'm like, we need to be doing that because we need to get better. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Because I know we run good enough stops already in practice. It's just a matter of taking that to the track, right? And Gibbs is Gibbs. I will give Gibbs some credit. They have this year they have come out of nowhere. I mean, I wouldn't say nowhere, but they are whooping Hendrick's ass pretty much on pit road for a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Just from what, being super consistent or
just consistent. And I think, I mean, there's a new takeaway and stuff that the Jackman's doing that they've incorporated, which is fast. And it almost seems like, and the way I feel as a pit crew member, that going to the track, I'm not able to just play free because I'm scared to screw up and make the car, not finish well. Whereas I think at Gibbs, they're like, there's no repercussions. Like, just go out and ball out. And if you screw up, you screw up. Like, you know what I mean? To where it's like,
Mhm.
at Hendrick, I feel like there's this cloud over you where it's like you can't make the car win. You can only make the car lose, right? Like I was saying. Like, and it sucks that I have to feel that way because I think it does put a little bit of like restraint on, your checkoff time, your dwell time, where if you add all those things up, you're stopped to peg. I know you guys don't know what I'm talking about, but like if you add those tenths up, what would have been an eight is now a 9.3, right?
It's a
And
big difference.
that's a big difference. You're going to lose spots on pit road, even though you're running decent stops. You're going to lose spots on pit road. So I think if you play with this attitude, like you know what, if I screw up, screw it up. Like who cares? Move on. I'm probably going to get mother effed over the radio, but guess what? The
Dude,
next time
I
we
dude,
screw up,
I think that's
oh,
such an important thing. I think that's such an important thing you touched on, like having fun, like playing free, and like when you're like so serious about it, you're like scared of like messing up or whatever. Like you almost like sort of hinder yourself. Like I can speak to that from like a business standpoint. Like there's so many times where like I wouldn't get the sale or whatever, and just I was just like, F it, I'm just gonna make some calls or just send this email or just ask this question or whatever. And like, if it doesn't work, whatever. And like, sometimes it would work. And I was like, oh, wow, that actually just worked. I was just sort of like, F it. I'm just going to do it. And I had more fun doing it that way. But I could see like, in a pick crew situation, it's a lot more like, there's very serious stuff on the line. But I think that's an important thing you brought up, like, playing free, having fun. I think it can make a big difference in your performance. I've noticed that myself too when I'm having more fun. I don't want to say I'm like super carefree. Like obviously I care still, but like when I'm having fun, I'm in a better mood. Like I make better decisions, and usually better things happen. So that's my 2 cents on that.
yeah. That's the thing. It's like they're always hiring people at Hinder, like even in this sport. right? Like when I first got in, like, it was like a little bit of like the athletic people from college are coming into the sport. Now it's like boom. I mean, they're recruiting all the time, so it's like you got the next guy in line coming to take your job, and
Mm,
it feels like not for me necessarily because I'm still kind of that new guy, but I could definitely see for the old heads that have been in the sport for 8, 10 plus years, like someone's breathing down their neck all the time, right? So um,
got to perform.
you got to perform or it's the next guy, and that's kind of what it's become at Hendrick. And so I think there's a lot of pressure on a lot of people, and I'm speaking only on behalf of Hendrick because I work for them. I can't speak on behalf of Joe Gibbs or Penske and other people like that. But um, yeah, we're bringing in a lot of talent, a lot of freaks too. I mean, I think 2 guys out of the NFL are coming to
Wow.
work for us. So we just hired 2 guys that came from the NFL last year. So I mean, we got guys that are freaks of nature, and they pick it up quick. So it's pressure's on sometimes, and I think it's hard to take because the last thing you want to do is screw up with the track, right? And so I think it's kind of like slowing you down from being the best that you can be. But that's my 2 cents. I think we need to get that out of our heads, and I think we'll win a lot more races that way. But
I agree. I'm looking forward to watching you guys win.
yeah, we're gonna have to get you. Maybe when we go to Daytona this year, I'll get you some tickets. Make that
Dude, that'd be
out.
Yeah,
awesome.
right there on the track, man. It's pretty sweet.
That'd be sick. That'd be awesome. All right, well, Nick, I know you gotta hop here soon. You want to close us out here? Or Cody, you want to leave us with anything else?
Well, I think I said everything. I'd be happy to get back on, talk about something else, more on the business side of things.
Yeah, we got a lot more stuff we can dig in over time. We'll definitely have you on again. Yeah, where are you headed this week? You said you just got back from
Sonoma.
Chicago, heading out to Sonoma, California. Um,
Yep.
Road Warrior, man. Good luck this week.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome, Cody. Appreciate you jumping on here. We're looking forward to having you again.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Justin.